Mandan Park District Board meeting to order. Today is April 13th, 2026 at 5:30. Any additions or deletions to the agenda?
None.
Board, any additions or deletions? Okay, hearing none. At this time, we'll open public communication from visitors. Anybody would like to come up and speak? If you haven't been scheduled to speak, now would be the time to do that. Okay, seeing no takers, we will close that portion of our meeting. Can we start by getting approval of the March 9th, 2026 regular meeting minutes and the March 12th, 2026 special meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve March 9th, 2026 regular meeting minutes and March 12th, 2026 special meeting minutes.
Motion by Commissioner Freilich.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Mutter. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. All right, moving into our agenda. Item number 1, consider Josette Dupree of Big Stick Cigars request to sell their product at Mandan golf courses. Josette?
Good evening, Commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Josette Dupree, co-owner and general manager of Big Stick Cigar Lounge. I'm here to respectfully request permission to sell premium cigars at select golf tournaments hosted through Mandan Parks and Recreation during the 2026 season. We are specifically requesting approval to partner with 3 tournaments: the Mandan Police Department Explorers Tournament on June 19th, Dakota Children's Advocacy Center Heroes on the Green on July 10th, and the Kiwanis Golf Tournament on August 14th. Our goal is to enhance the tournament experience by offering a premium controlled cigar service that aligns with the relaxed social atmosphere many golfers enjoy. We would operate in a professional and responsible manner, setting up in designated areas, ensuring all sales are to adults 21 and over, and maintaining a clean, respectful presence throughout each event. We have also received interest from additional tournaments. However, we are intentionally holding off on any further commitments until we understand the board's position on expanding this opportunity. We believe this can add value to the events, create an elevated experience for participants, and support local business engagement within the community. Thank you for your time and consideration. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have about golf tournaments or potentially reselling to either of the golf courses for them to resell the product.
Okay. Josette, I know this was a few years ago when you came to the board and asked for it, and I think we allowed you to do 2, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Can you tell us how that's gone?
They went very well. Unfortunately, last year I did have the 2, but we had a scheduling conflict at the last minute for the one event with Dakota Children's where I couldn't make it to. But the feedback I got from fellow golfers in our community was wonderful, saying it was so nice to have you there, so I didn't have to go and stop beforehand at your lounge to get what I needed and then go out on my golfing journey. Or they found out, they were golfing with other people and they wanted additional cigars. And they saw how controlled it is and how I remind folks, hey, we're not like cigarette smokers. When you're done with your product, you don't flick it on the ground. You keep it controlled and you snub it out, put it in a bottle or a container, and bring it back and dispose of it properly.
Cole, I know you included our minutes from that meeting back in 23, I believe.
That's correct. June 12th of 23.
June 12th, 2023. Any feedback from our golf manager or pro shop manager as far as any? So Josette, we were hesitant to do it the first time because our park board policy actually strictly forbids the sale of tobacco on our grounds. So I guess it was kind of a feel out period to see how things went. So Cole, do you have your?
And we talked at our golf portfolio meeting with Commissioner Scott, and there were no issues related to what was taking place on the property. The question was, though, if we want to continue this, where does it stop or where does it end in regards to now it's 2, then it's 4, then it's 6? And if it really is a need for this type of product to be sold, kind of the history lesson is when Brad Olson way back in the day used to have a little humidor and he sold them specifically. Then the Mandan Tobacco Coalition came through and asked us to basically not allow any smoking or tobacco on park property. And we had a big discussion with it. We had a couple hearings. And the reality that came out of that from that time at that board, I can't remember what year it was. I want to say in that 12 to 14, 2012 or 14. But the reality was is they said, okay, we have public buildings that state law stay within 20 feet of the entrances, so we implemented that. In addition to that, we wanted to make sure that all the playgrounds where young kids were at that didn't have a choice to inhale secondhand smoke, we wanted to make sure that that was at least a 20-foot separation from there. We understand that people are going to do what they want to do, but we wanted to make sure that the kids weren't exposed to that at that time. Then they put in there that we would not sell tobacco products, and that's when Brad Olson was selling, then no longer sold cigars. And that's how that policy got put in there. So if we would like to offer this service, I think it should be ran through our Golf Pro, who we have the contract to sell, and he can elect to buy them from Josette and her business or anyone else that he feels, and then we would allow that variance to be sold at the golf courses. Now, the other concern would be the age of the employees that are working behind the tills. Most of them are 18 or 21, but we just would have to monitor that just as another layer, since we do sell alcohol.
I would say even before that, we would need to change our policy.
Correct.
Commissioner Scott, you guys met and
Yeah, and Cole hit it on the head. There has been no issues. Josette is right that things went smoothly. The idea behind the comments by Garrett and then in a later conversation with Brent were the fact that it's the what ifs. Nothing has happened yet, but and it can happen because people can bring their own
it could happen now.
Cigars
Yeah.
or cigarettes out there, and their concerns are we lease the carts, so burns on seats and different things like that, or leaving. Josette hit that one too with disposing of it correctly, but it can happen, and we see it out there already with people leaving cigarettes on the edge of the green while they putt or whatever, and then it just gets left there. So then our staff ends up having to clean up the mess after, somebody that doesn't dispose of it properly. I will say that both Brent and Garrett felt like we should be following our own rules, so to speak. If they're in place, we should be following them. And if we don't want to follow them, then we should be changing our bylaws.
that's where I'm at.
I got a real quick question, Commissioner Scott. How many people do smoke out there?
That's a great question. I don't see a ton of it, but I know that it's out there quite a bit. It's just that with the group I golf with, none of us are smokers, but none of us hold it against people that are. So I love the smell of a good cigar. So it's one of those things. I don't want to smoke it, but I definitely don't mind breathing, smelling that smell, because there definitely is a good smell. But I would guess that, and it would be a guess, less than 25% of the people that are out there golfing are smoking as well.
Cole, I've got a question for you, because I'm looking at the top of the tobacco free policy here. It says 20 feet from Mandan Park District shelters and concessions, buildings, grandstands, bleachers, playgrounds, and controlled areas for events. Does that include the golf carts?
That does not, based on this. And we did have public hearings when we had this. Like I said, I don't remember the exact year, but there were individuals who came forward saying that it's my right to choose and come to your establishment to choose to smoke. And that's why the board did not eliminate it 100% from the golf courses. They allowed that. They knew that people of the age of 18 or older could make that decision for them and bring it on, but we wouldn't sell it.
But
That
it's
was-
now 21.
Or 21, sorry.
Yeah.
Back then, I think it was 18.
I think it was 18 probably then, yeah.
I
Jo-
do work
Jo-
in
Jo-
partnership with Hawk Tree Golf Course, which is out in Burleigh County. And they did a few years ago, they bought a humidor from me, a desktop humidor. And usually about this time of the year, I grab it from them and I season it and I get it all cured up, ready to go. And then they buy cigars from me and I stock up for them to resell back. So that's, I don't know if that would be something as a consideration or not, but I've been doing that now for about 4 years, and it's been going very well. In addition, I also do a very large golf tournament there with the Sanford Health Blue Way Invitational Tournament, and it's always been a success.
Cole, I know that first year we waived the fee that goes along with the somebody coming in to sell their products on our property. Do you happen to know if it's being charged?
So I did reach out to Brent Weber, our golf pro, and he said it was not, that he's aware of. So again, it's gone well. It's really, what do we as a park district want to have as a wellness activity, youth oriented, whether or not you believe that they are getting exposed to it or not in different ways or whatever. I just feel from the park district standpoint, it's been working very well, and we gave it an opportunity to see how it went, and there were no issues. But I just don't feel that's the direction that staff want to go at this time.
Well, and I think, we also serve alcohol at our golf courses. And again, I talked to you, Cole, before the meeting. The difference between alcohol and tobacco smoke is two different things. I mean, you're self-imposing the poison as opposed to if you're standing next to somebody. I think that's why some of those laws came into effect. So I think if we're going to go healthy lifestyle, will you be pull everything that's, make people walk? I don't know. Obviously we're not going to do that because we'd have a lot less golfers. But I guess for me, I see that if we're going to expand this, we have to change our policy before we go another route. 2, Josette, how many in Bismarck, Mandan, or state of North Dakota run a business like you? Would you say, rough estimate?
Oh, cigar lounges?
Yeah, cigar lounges or retail cigar sellers, or maybe not even so much a lounge.
As far as cigar lounges, I still am currently the only cigar lounge in the state of North Dakota.
Okay.
There are locations you can go to, liquor stores and that, where they do have small humidors to sell, for selling their cigars, but we get a lot of foot traffic for off-site sales. I call them grab and goes. They come in and grab their cigars. I'm excited for golf season because I know what's going to be going on for me with a lot of folks coming in to grab their cigars for that day's tournament or whatever adventure they're on. But yeah, we are the only ones in the state so far.
And I think we as a park board have to protect ourselves in not monopolizing with one. Like I believe Captain Jack's, they have humidors within their liquor stores. If they were to come next meeting and say, well, we want to do 3 events or 2 events, for us, I think we need to put a little more thought into this as far as how far we're going to let it go, especially when our policy is actually saying that we shouldn't or can't. So I don't know what the rest of the board, their thoughts.
I would like to see us look into the policy first before we even make a decision. I don't want to put her on hold, but I would like to make sure that we're. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, if it's a golf course and they can smoke on the golf course, well then they have the right to buy it too. So I would rather see us look at the policy and make sure we know what we're doing before we make a real hard decision here.
Josette, do you have, when you say 2, are they the same tournaments that you've had?
Yes, two, and now a third has come forward. Again, Dakota Children's Advocacy Center, their Heroes on the Green, and the Mandan Police Department Explorers Golf Tournament at Mandan Municipal.
Those are the 2 that you've historically done.
And then the third one now, the Kiwanis Golf Tournament, has also asked, hey, we would really like to have you there supporting.
Which is in August, I believe, correct?
Yep, August 14th.
So for the first time since the beginning of the Kiwanis, I was not there last year. Did you do the Kiwanis tournament last year?
No one reached out to me to ask me to participate, but
Okay.
overwhelmingly already this year, please come. Please come. So,
She's asking to add that one. Yeah.
I had heard somebody else had talked to me about that and said that she was at the one during Kiwanis last year, so I assumed the police department one and the Kiwanis were the two, but evidently it was the children's advocacy group and the police department ones.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
President Meskey and Attorney Ruff, might be a question for you. So the way our golf operation, or excuse me, Golf Pro works is he isn't leased or a contracted employee for rental space of the pro shop. So regardless if, let's just say the board was to change the policy and our contract is with Brent Weber, our Golf Pro, and he chooses not to sell it because that's his business within us.
Yeah.
And he's telling us today that he doesn't want to do that and that he would like to follow policy, we would have to change his contract, and we, as a park district, could mandate that this is our policy and that you could do that. But today, we don't have any control on what he sells in that pro shop. So golf balls, clubs, shirts, designs, anything. We don't set pricing. He has all of that. Plus, he has the liquor license to sell the alcohol. It's not in the park district's name.
But we do get a percentage
We
of that.
take a
correct?
percentage for the rental fee for the space of our building.
Right. So it's a little more complex than just taking them. Hawk Tree probably is a little different.
Yes.
They're not run by a government entity, so.
And they're in the county, not in the city, and
Yeah.
a few different things. But Cole, one other quick question. If Brent did decide that he wanted to sell cigars, would he have to change his current license?
Very
To
good
do so?
question. I'm not sure how that would work for off sale.
He would need to have a state and city of Mandan tobacco license to do so.
I should have directed that to you, but instead of putting Cole under pressure.
Anything else?
When is the first tournament that you have scheduled?
June 19th.
June 19th. And in fairness to you, how soon would you absolutely have to know in order to make things work as far as inventory and things like that?
About 3 weeks.
So President Meshkin, Commissioner, May 11th is our next board meeting. So if we wanted to table it and have further discussion or put together the portfolio or whoever else needs to be involved in it, we could have it answered by May 11th.
And even if it did go into June, it sounds like the two that you have are earlier, correct?
Correct, yes. June, July,
The
and
third one
August I
wouldn't
have.
be till August, which we've allowed her to do.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Josette, how many sales at a tournament would make it worth your while to even be there?
Dollar amount, it's usually 500 or more.
Sure.
And
did you
I do that.
Did you exceed that in the two that you did last year?
Well, the one, scheduling conflict, we couldn't, but the other one, yes, I did, yeah.
Because we also, I think we waived for that first year that $100 vendor permit. And you're saying that that has not been?
No, that wasn't charged.
So we have to probably tighten some things up on our end, so, because if it does get bigger and somebody, like I said, next meeting, somebody comes in and they want to come up and set up a stand, it's not just Big Stick cigars that are,
Right. In the city of Mandan, you do have to have a storefront presence that's selling cigars in order to do anything off-site. So anytime I do something off-site, I do have to request and get a $25 permit to be off-site for each event that I do
From the
off-site
city.
within the
Okay.
city.
more catering type
Correct.
license, yeah. And I think, like I said, Captain Jack's could probably do the same thing.
They could. They have a very small, the last time I was in there, it's a very small desktop humidor that only had like 10 cigars in
I'm
there.
not saying they will, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to.
It's a possibility.
Yeah.
I can't see that they would foof up their inventory because cigars are very controlled for taking care of the
And
product.
I think the Mandan one is quite small, the big, I think Bismarck is
Yeah.
bigger. So, I guess I'd like to table this, and we'll do a little more research and try to stiffen up what we're doing now, so we're in compliance with our policy. And two, try to predict the future to protect the park board and Mandan, so,
All right.
okay?
All right. I'm available for any questions at any time. I'm just a block over from here, and I usually am there all the time.
You had to leave work, didn't you?
Right? Okay. Thank you,
All
Commissioners.
right, thank you, Josette.
Thank you for being here.
So President Meskey and Commissioners, just to follow up on that, are you wanting the Golf Portfolio Committee to resolve the tobacco, or is this more of a like district-wide?
I think that, Commissioner Scott, you kind of heard all the what ifs, and I know you heard the what ifs from their side, but then as a board, how we have to proceed, whether or not we proceed with it. I guess I'd like it to go back to the golf committee, and if you can share those meeting notes with us, then we have an idea. But that the future probably scares me the most. Well, first, we gave an exception to our policy, and we asked how it would go. Maybe a report back from Brent on his intentions, because I did read in there too he was going to come back and let us know how it went at some point at a future meeting. I guess maybe that's next month, and we can go from there. Okay,
We'll get back together.
okay, thank you.
A quick question. So, will this? I'm looking at the future too, maybe. But what happens if somebody wants to do it at Legion Park or something like that? I mean, are we going to try to just leave it for golf, or are we going to make sure we cover all our?
I would tend to say it should just be golf. I mean, if we're having kids around I mean, there's a lot of kids around there, and I guess we see smoking at the dog park. We see those things. I don't think we're gonna set up maybe, but I guess I'd like to see it restricted to our 2 golf courses. Anything else? All right, moving on to item number 2. Consider request to add a new North Pavilion to Dale Paulke Arena. Cole, you want to start?
Yep.
I see
So President
Jason's
Meskey,
here.
yep, President Meskey and Commissioners, Jason Middlestead, again, raised more money. So it's a good problem to have, but they would like to add a new pavilion to the north end of the arena, behind the Crow's Nest. And as you can see in your packet, there's 2 signed donation agreements between Greg Bavendick and his foundation, along with the Dale Paulke. So there's $200,000 that are raised. $100,000 will come May 1st. The other $100,000 will be over 5 years. In my agenda doc, it was originally going to be over 4 years.
Right.
Now changed to 5. So essentially, we'll have $120,000 starting May 1st. And that dollars will be used towards the pavilion and some other additional items that Mr. Middlestead will talk about here in a moment. In the Excel spreadsheet, I kind of circled in red and highlighted it. There's $67,000 that once we make our final payment in August of 26, there will be more pledges coming through. So there'll be $67,000 there. So we're really only short about $13,000 to finish the full $200,000 worth of improvements. Then if you look in 27, we're going to collect another $347,000 and some change in pledges. We would just reimburse the park district for that $13,000 that we're short. So what we're looking for tonight is just to upfront that $80,000, basically carry it. If the Mandan Rodeo Committee doesn't spend the full $80,000, obviously we would just prorate the difference and then carry that over for that standpoint. And so what they're looking at is just adding additional amenities. As you see, there's a handout I put in front of you underneath your agenda. Dustin went out and got the bids, and you can see that the bids that were submitted, 5 were solicited, only 4 submitted, and the recommendation is to go with Anytime Works in the amount of $122,390 for that is for the pavilion, and that includes concrete. And we had some concerns with the $100,000 difference in the bid, going, what did they miss? Dustin and Jason met on site just to make sure there was no concerns and everything that was in the specs were followed through. And then on the bottom, Mr. Middlestead will kind of talk about, since there is such substantial savings, those are some items that he would like to add into the pavilion to spend the full, as you see, $195 dollar amount today. So let Mr. Middlestead
Welcome,
explain.
Jason.
Yeah, so this is a project that's been a long time coming. It's something that we wanted to do prior to even building this new facility. Mandan Rodeo Days is always, every year, we need to put up a tent back for, and what this is for, I should start there. It's on the north end of the facility. It's for hospitality. It's what feeds all the contestants and the committees and things like that. It's a very busy place. So the Mandan Rodeo Days Committee rents a tent every year for that. But now other events that happen there, like the college, same thing. They rent a tent also to put there. And then Chad Berger puts on a big event there. He's renting a tent. It's $2,000 every year to rent that tent. So it would help all those committees' bottom line. The Mandan Horse and Saddle Club would also see a benefit for this, for their stuff. So one thing that's different that we're going to include with this is storage also. So another thing that we do is we're always having to borrow tables and chairs. We're still hauling this stuff. We have a storage facility that's on the end of the strip. So still hauling stuff back and forth. We have this facility and we're still hauling stuff back and forth. But by having that storage included with this, that now we'll be able to purchase our own tables and chairs, get rid of that storage facility down on the end of the strip there, and everything will be on site and make things way more convenient. Like Cole mentioned, the winning bid for this project, very impressed with them folks, meeting them. They're more after building relationships. They want to help, and that's why their bid was considerably lower. And because of that, I'd like to add a misting system to the east side set of grandstands. And that's the sunny side, we call it. So and people are catching on. There's a hot side and there's a cool, shady side. And so this would go on the hot side. And I am not really familiar with it, so I did some research, and we have some people on our committee that will be helping install this that are familiar with it, but it's essentially an air conditioner for outside that works. It's a proven system that other facilities have that are similar to what we have. Another small project is when we did all the wiring for the video board that gets rented every year for these events, how it gets wired in and hooked up was correct at the time, but they're currently using an updated system, so of course things are a little bit different. We pay an electrician to come in and hook this up every year. So that would just be putting the right equipment in for the video board. So yeah, here seeking approval to move forwards with all that, and I would be happy to entertain any questions that you have.
Commissioner Mutter.
And I hate to even bring this up because I feel like a broken record all the time, but
Bring it up, Mr. Mutter.
restrooms. We kind of promised the Horse and Saddle Club one of the first things that we would do is get the restrooms done, because there's a lot of people want that, and for our guests it would really be important. But I want to make sure, are they okay with you doing this before their restrooms project?
Yes. So I am here representing everybody, all the user groups that are there. I'm not here solely for Mandan Rodeo Days. So yes, we have discussed this with the Mandan Horse and Saddle Club, and they're fully on board with this. Yes.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, and I too was, and Anytime Works Incorporated, have they built structures like this before? I mean, are they a new company? I guess I don't know much about it.
They are not.
Okay.
Don't quote me, I did ask that. Okay. I think they've been around 13 years, roughly 13.
Not sure on the years, but they did build the South Pavilion that when you come into that entrance that has Jason Middleton's name on there.
Okay.
They built that one.
Okay. So again, they're very familiar with the project and what it takes and what's in there. But they do a lot of work for Paramount.
Oh, okay. Any other questions? If not, what are the board's wishes?
Are you putting doors on this one?
There is 2 garage doors.
Okay,
it'll be for the storage, right?
Like I mentioned, there's 12 feet off of the end where there's going to be 2 storage compartments. One that with a 8-foot wide garage door for tables and chair storage, and a 10-foot wide garage door off the side for miscellaneous storage.
Thank you.
Jason, where on the site is this going to sit?
So directly west of the rodeo office on the north side of the property.
adjacent to that north fence.
Yep.
When you come in off that approach.
Are you going to put sidewalks in? Didn't we have to put sidewalks in on the other pavilion? Didn't we have to add those later?
So,
As
so
people
what,
came
what,
in-
what that is, I think you're referring to, is we had a little more concrete on the outside edge for more.
It was
so
for
the
it was for the
water-
food
Yeah.
vendors too, wasn't it? Okay.
Oh, and then it wasn't us, it was Chad Berger bought these booths,
Yeah.
and we use them for like a VIP booths, and we put concrete underneath
Okay.
where we set that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What are the board's wishes?
I recommend approving the North Pavilion project as presented and not to exceed 2,000 for using 2026 pledges to cover majority of the cost and the park district covering the difference. 2027 payment will reimburse the park district for the difference needed to complete the project. And do you want me to add the other projects here to up to that 200,000, Cole?
No, I think when we originally talked, it was just for 200,000 to be spent, and so what we presented today, the intention is knowing that what's been presented to you would be what's been approved, and then it's not to exceed the 200,000.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Mutter, second by Commissioner Scott. Okay, any further discussion?
I would just like to say thank you to Jason for all the work you do out there, and I know it's sometimes a thankless job, but we do appreciate everything you do.
Well,
And
thanks,
so
I
does
appreciate
Mandan.
that.
So
Thank
does
you.
Mandan, City of Mandan.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, Commissioner Mutter,
Yes.
Commissioner Freilich,
Yes.
Commissioner Melhoff,
Aye.
Commissioner Scott.
Yes.
Yes, from me as well. Thanks, Jason. Good luck. Hopefully you can get it up by then. Moving on to item number 3, update on Mandan Hockey Club discussion to pursue adding on to the Starion Sports
I was
Complex.
trying to pull up the overhead, but the projector doesn't seem to be working to demonstrate it, so I'll just have to ad-lib here a little bit. So we had a facility portfolio meeting with Commissioner Melhoff along with Matt Stockert, who is the representative for the Mandan Hockey Club. And we've been having preliminary discussions about adding on to the Starion Sports Complex. And if you remember, in the packet, there is a feasibility study that was done, I believe, in 21. And the Mandan Hockey Club at that time in 2021 wanted to see what it would take to expand the back side of the Cadillac rink between the football exterior bleachers and that wall on the back side of the Cadillac rink. At that time, it was $2.3 million, and the Mandan Hockey Club decided at that time not to move forward. We've already completed a topo. We've already completed soil testing back in 21, and we still have that information today. Since then, it's kind of been on hold, but we've been hearing that the Mandan Hockey Club would like to do this expansion. It has now changed where they would like to have dry land space and potentially make it a 2-level building. At the upper level could be for storage and or offices. And so as the discussions kind of went through, some of the concerns we talked about was that's the only space that the Park District, 3, 5, 10, 20 years from now, if we ever wanted to add additional locker rooms, that's the only space that we'd be able to do that at because of the proximity to the back of the benches where all the players are at. So one of the comments that we made in the meeting was, we're comfortable with the expansion for dryland space, but we want to make sure all the utilities and everything is pulled in there originally, so that way then if we ever have different ideas or concepts, that we would be able to renovate that space into locker rooms, but not have to pull utilities, drains, and all the things that we would needed to have that become a locker room. And since then, I think there was discussion last Tuesday from the hockey club, and I think they were just trying to figure out what's the best direction and where's the best way to spend the dollars at this time. So they asked to not have it on the agenda to move the project forward. It's been tabled on their end to determine what the next steps are going to be. We have not had discussions with the full hockey board. They have, again, a general manager, Matt Stockert, who kind of speaks on their behalf and does some of the day-to-day operational things. We spoke with him, and we're just going to do a wait and see. But from a timeline standpoint, if they wanted to come back to the board and do something, we want to work it backwards from the spring of 27 because we don't want to impact the fall with 2,500 to 3,000 people coming to a football game. So our thought process, if we were to start it in the spring of 27 or even in spring of 28, yes, it's going to impact some track meets, but not as much space in the back that we would have when we have the larger football games and soccer events that take place there. So working backwards, we would have to open bids sometime in, advertise bids in December or January, and then award in that February review period, maybe even March award, and then initiate contracts and hopefully start breaking ground, weather allows, into April. So from a timeline standpoint, if we're going to advertise in December or January, they need at least 3 to 4 months for design, an architect would. So that puts us back into about August, and now we have the financing and the agreements and everything that would need to take place, pushing to about a July, maybe August, if we'd have to get an answer from the Mandan Hockey Club if they want to proceed to go forward. So it's really more informational what's been transpiring. It originally was to come before the board and have approval to do the expansion, and it's been tabled since
So
then.
they want dry land only.
At this time, along with a second level for office space and then just open storage space at this time.
And you talked about renovating the dry land or adding on from the dry land?
Adding on. The
Adding
dryland room that was there today has already been converted to small locker room.
Okay.
So then we were having even bigger discussions going, okay, it will
You
be.
use the word renovation, so I thought something about building the dry land and then but you're saying have everything wired, have all the
Yeah. So it
sewer,
would be new construction.
water, everything there to add on.
What
the
Cole's
lockers.
saying is the club, the Matt Stockard and the hockey club wanted to proceed with considering only dry land, and we pushed back and said, well, we heard a lot about locker room needs and this and that, so we asked them to go back to the board and talk that through, and then so the renovation would be if we went now with all dry land, but then decided in the future we needed to add locker
I just want to make, because when you said renovation, I thought to renovate and take over the dry land again, but
And so,
Add
like
on.
you said, in 2021, it was locker room space
Yeah.
was needed. Now in 26, it's dry land space. And so I know boards are going to change over, like our boards and hockey boards, volunteer boards. It's whatever that issue is today. And then the park district's always left with, what are we going to do in the future? And my concern is that's the only place that makes sense for future lockers. Whether they go in or not, at least we got all the amenities in there for utilities.
any other questions for Cole? Okay. All right, moving on to item 4. Consider human resources update, handbook changes and trustees changes for retirement plan.
Yes, so commissioners, we had a portfolio meeting to review these handbook changes. A lot of it was just cleaning up that Tyra Ripple did with as far as updating the handbook. A lot of it is, like I said, just clean it up, clarifying, removing some old language. The real main addition that you see in red at the bottom of that first page on 4.1, that's is the new item. Everything else has been in there. It just was cleaned up with new language and new acts as far as ADA. But the bottom of this paragraph talks about if there was a full-time employee that was off duty and there was some type of illegal crime or some type of felony that took place, that they would have to communicate us. And the reason why that was put in is we did have some employees who have gotten a DUI or some other infraction and didn't tell us, and we found out 60, 90 days later, and they're operating our equipment and vehicles when we should have been communicated what was taking place. And we understand there's privacy, but we got to be safe and conscientious from an employer standpoint. So that was added in there. And then 9.1, we in the city changed our full-time eligibility from 19 to 18 years. That was added in there, and that's already been voted on by the city commission with our trustees in regards to our retirement plan. And then the last was just talking about the vesting period. So we wanted to make sure it was more clear, because it says 25% vests in the first year of service, 50% in the second year, 75% in the third, and 100% in the fourth. Well, was it if you work 1 year and 1 day, are you 50% or are you 25%? So what we wanted to clarify was if you work 1 year and 1 day, you are eligible for the 50% vested for your retirement. Again, that's only what the park district puts in. So if you have $100 in there, you would get 50% if you make it 1 year, and so on. So those were the major changes, and then the deletions that you can see in there are what we took out. And it was approved at our administrative portfolio meeting.
Okay, anything, questions on changes, deletions?
They all seem sensible and necessary, so I would make the motion to approve the handbook changes as presented.
Motion by Commissioner Scott,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Mutter. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries.
And then to follow up on the trustee changes, so today, Terry Welch and myself are the trustees for the Park District. Terry's name will still remain on as a trustee, as a manager, but the day-to-day will be Tyra Ripple will be added to it because she's handling the human resources and the payroll. So now it's Tyra and myself will be the representatives. Terry will always have a spot on there, but she won't attend we have quarterly meetings, sometimes semi-annually meetings. She will attend those since she's already making the changes in the behind the scenes on the software in regards to staff changes and things of that nature and termination. So it just made sense to add her to that. There's no motion needed at that. Just wanted to clarify who will be on there.
Item number 5, updated ASA plat and parking lot status.
So we had a meeting last week with a preliminary planning and zoning as the school district is trying to get this zoned, the old high school site, which again, the All Seasons Arena sits on that property. So that will be presented here at the end of the month. I know Commissioner Mutter sits on the planning and zoning as a representative for the Park District. He's well aware of some of our concerns. But the property lines and everything that's been stated in your packet is agreeable to staff and along with ourselves in regards to how the parking lot will be laid out. Some concerns are coming up from the planning and zoning along with the city and the school district. That has nothing to do with the Park District at this time. But you see on that illustration where it talks about where the roads would have right-of-ways. And where those roads are located at, the city is wanting to just get the land dedicated for a right-of-way so when a road is going to go in. We don't know when a road's going to go in, but we at least like to have those roads located in right-of-ways and be recorded on the plat. The school has to approve that because it is technically their land today, so that's still going to be pending. The concerns that we have from the Park District, as you see some of my items in the agenda doc, though, would be where our access points would be, when can we do our parking lot? We talked about repaving that parking lot, mill and overlay, potentially reconstruction in some areas in 27. Well, we know the land around the All Seasons Arena, it may not be developed at that time. So we asked the question, can we temporarily fence off our property to not have damage to a parking lot? That's going to be around $1.2 to $1.3 million. But not having access in there eliminates people from the south and that Christ the King, Roosevelt area who you like to go to the grass dumps. We don't have a problem with, half-ton trucks and things of that nature driving through there. It's the heavy equipment that may be going on whenever progress happens on the former Mandan High School site. So that's the dilemma that's taking place here today, along with the utilities that you see go through there. There are no easements for those utilities. You see them crossing all across that parking lot. So we want to get all of those utilities in the right-of-ways too, so that there's an easement, and then there's going to be some access easements to some of this because the lines do run they run underneath the All Seasons Arena, and we have no idea where they go, if they go to our building or they go all the way to where the old former gymnasium used to be located, because there's no documents that demonstrate where these things are at from the 70s and 80s when this stuff was put in. So a lot of moving parts with that.
Well, is there any talk about 9th Street Northwest being vacated?
So I wish we had the projector working here, but if you kind of go to the south of the All Seasons Arena, there was 8th Street Northwest. That road was kind of supposed to split the property. And that was discussed also in regards to what's taking place. So that hasn't been deeded over as far as an easement either. Figure it out. We may have the projector.
But there's no talk about 9th Street Northwest being vacated. Okay.
At this time, no. See if he got his. Yeah, so what I'm referring to is this road here that comes in today and then goes to the south. There's been discussions about taking this road and running it west, and then it would come in on the south end of our parking lot. But as you see, there are no easements for a right-of-way as you just to the north-south and the east-west projected. And I know from a school standpoint, they want to sell the land as make it as simple as possible to whoever buys it and develops it. But it impacts the park district as far as what we can do with the parking lot with all these unknowns. So there needs to be right-of-ways dedicated, and then you can see our layout of what the parking lot would look like. And then that next slide kind of demonstrates how it would be potentially laid out. And again, very preliminary. We just had more engineering do with some cost estimates. More engineering is doing the improvement district to the west. So we'd like to piggyback in that improvement district and special assess this parking lot back to the park district. And that's what they laid out as far as potential access points.
That's if that same road that
correct.
goes in there.
But then I asked the question during the preliminary planning and zoning is, do we need to put curb and gutter around the parking lot, not knowing what's going to happen in the future? If we put in asphalt like it is today and the road never goes in for 5 to 10 years and then they choose to throw the road, then they would come in and just tear that part out. So a lot of unknowns, I guess, is what I'm trying to say until this gets worked out. The first step is to zone the land, which is the school district's responsibility. And then the second component would be if we can piggyback onto this improvement district and special assess this parking lot back to us, can we get it done in 27, or is it going to be extended into 28? We don't know. And then the other thing I can just add is the water line is getting moved right about in here on Wednesday, so the water will be shut off to the building, and they'll make that transformation from where it was. The shut off used to be down in this area somewhere to the school, but it fed to our All Scenes Arena. We wanted that shut off moved onto our property, so that whatever happens in the future, we don't have to go on someone else's property to shut off the water to our building. So the concern, though, would be is that's about $1.2 million estimate on a parking lot, and then those roads, as you see on the west side of it, that's an assessment too that potentially would come into us. So we had talked about what is the actual impact to the park district if we were to special assess it. As you know, we are not allowed to go up more than 3%. But special assessments do not have a cap. And so we're looking at probably about a $1.5 million increase for this component over a 10 to 15 year period, depending on how the improvement district would go with the city. They would special assess it back to us. We'd be looking at about a $1 to $1.5 million increase. Now, we've been doing a really good job, and Terry does a good job, and you'll see at our July retreat. We try to buy down these specials, and what we've always tried to eliminate is not get our special levies go up and down. We kind of want to maintain, so some years we may have a little extra that we can buy down small ones, and then the years that we don't have a whole lot, we can build it back up to pay off, because we're still paying for Southwest Mandan along the municipal golf course and along the Ball Diamonds. We did 16th Street in the parking lot for the tennis center. So those are two large specials that we have there, and this one would just add to it. But it definitely is a need. It is. It's an attraction to our community. The parking lot is in very dire needs to be replaced. Probably was about 5 years ago, and with the school passing their bond, I wouldn't replace the parking lot either. And so we're getting free land. It's our responsibility to do it, and we just got to figure out when the best time that is.
Do we also have specials coming on the strip too?
Yeah, we'll get that one. That one's pretty minimal. I mean, between Prairie West, Dakota Centennial Park, it's maybe pushing 90,000, which I'm happy with that one. And we have the Lower Hart assessment coming too.
Okay, any other questions for Cole?
Yeah, I have a few, I think, or maybe Lane. So they basically want to rezone it to make it marketable? And what zoning are they proposing?
It's in
Defer-
egg today.
It's egg today?
It is today egg. So I just got the letter in the mail. I think it's not good at the R7, and then there's an R7 I can't remember. But I know they're trying to rezone it to make it where it has more flexibility, where there's commercial in the front, which has been discussed, and then
Sure.
multi-unit, and then housing.
Okay.
But they want to keep it as open as possible so the developer doesn't have to come back and forth and try to get it rezoned.
Yeah, I get it. Sure.
Is the city, so they had all those meetings to put some sort of a commercial / residential area there. Are they planning to follow that? Do you know?
So As we know, the
Master plan or
yeah,
whatever.
the master plan that
Yeah.
we had for that area had a lot of green space and a road and kind of connecting into Division Street and taking the road well. I mean, it had a lot of nice amenities. The reality is to pay for those amenities at least gives people who are going to buy the land an opportunity to decide if they want to do anything with it. But I can't speak on behalf of the school and the city what they're going to enforce. That's for them to determine.
Yeah.
We just got that little piece of pie in the middle that whatever goes around us, we hope, the landscaping, topography, we got to figure out all of that as far as, we do have a 50-foot buffer or easement around the perimeter of our building so that we have better access for snow removal. But if we tear all that concrete out and we want to put in some kind of greenery, we have a buffer too there. But then we have to have access to the upper level of the All Saints Arena for the wrestling club, and then a secondary exit for the lower level in case of fires, that they have 2 exits to get out.
Anything else for Cole? All right, moving on to item 6. Let's start with Sunrise Estate land purchase.
Well, unfortunately, Commissioners, we had a written agreement that we had offered $140,000 to buy the 4 lots up in the Sunrise Estates. And we had a closing date set as of tomorrow, April 14th at 3 p.m. Received notification right before the board meeting that we are unable to complete the sale. There's something on the owner's side that they have to clean up with their banking institution. We're working through that now. I was texting with their realtor to determine what needs to be done to complete the process. Once I know, I will share with the board and we can make a decision if we have to amend or do anything different as far as what our offer originally was. But it was agreed upon, and now it's just between the owners and their banking institution to determine what the next steps would be.
Okay. Pump track.
So if you remember last year, a bicycle group came before us to put a pump track up at Sunset Park. They applied for the Land and Water Grant. That Land and Water Grant denied it last year, but was encouraged to reapply again. That opened up today. It got a 2-week opening for the grant applications. So they are resubmitting it. As a reminder, that was the local share was a 50-50 match, was estimated around $36,000. So the Park District share would be around $18,000 if they were funded for that grant. So it's more just a reminder, since they are reapplying, we approved as a board to do that, and they would like to reapply. It has been submitted, and so we'll wait to see here at the end of April what happens to that funding.
And Capra.
And then Capra, so I sent out a meeting invite to you that blocked out that last week of June. We're looking at that 28th as a Sunday where the 3 committee members would fly out here. And as you know, we have to pay for the expenses associated with coming out here and the hotels and things. And then there would be a review period on that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, which I think is the 28th, 29th, and 30th. If dates are right, I can pull it up my phone. But the concept would be, we don't know what your role would be. So I just kind of wanted to give you a kind of a block of time if your schedule allows to attend. It sounds like we will get an agenda about 2 weeks before they fly out. And there is a lot of responsibility to the staff where we'll have to present our information. I think there's going to be like a meet and greet or a social that we might be able to do in the evening. We might have something at Eagles Park and just have a welcoming type thing, get to meet the commissioners and ask them questions on how the process would go. I don't know what your involvement will be at what level, or if you're available to attend, but we just wanted to get it on your books, just so you're aware that that's when it's taking place.
So you sent us an invite for the 28th, the Sunday?
They fly in on Sunday.
So there could be-
I will
okay.
pick them up at the airport and get them there, but the 29th is when the actual review would start. And that includes a tour of the park system, meet with each department manager, along with myself, Q&A, follow through all of our 9 standards that we had to fulfill the information in. Probably going to be leaving on that July 2nd is what it sounds like they're going to, or the 1st. Fly out that 1st, depending on their flights and where they're coming from. But there'll be 3 people from different parts of the state. But we had our review last week, and it went very well. So kudos to all of our staff that provided a lot of information. They had very few questions. So that's a positive. Usually when you get that first initial review, you got, like my tests back in high school, all redlined. It wasn't a whole lot of redlines, so I was pretty happy for that. I was kind of glad that we were worried, not sure if we gave too much or not enough information, but it's been very well, and so we're happy with that.
Okay, thanks, Cole. All right, item number 7, authorization to pay our monthly bills. Can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve payment of our monthly bills.
Motion by Commissioner Milhoff,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Freilich. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Commissioner staff reports. Cole, anything else?
So there was a budget timeline in your packet. It's that time of year again as we start going. As you see, April 27th, we'll hand the information out to the managers in regards to the next step. We will be having portfolio meetings, as you see here, that President Meschke will announce here, but we got the next 2 weeks our quarterly portfolio meetings. So we'll talk a little bit about the budget at that time, some of our strategic plan items. But just wanted to share the budget calendar, just as a reminder, kind of the process. Our retreat is set for July 27th. Typically, it's always that last Monday of the month in July. And then the next item would be just Raging Rivers. As you know, we applied for that grant, the destination grant. The awards don't go out till the end of April, so April 30th we would know. I'm not sure how many people have applied, but definitely was a difficult grant for information to submit in timely matter, so we'll wait to see on that result. And again, that was a $4 million project, $2 million grant, $2 million match. And then the last item would be just some discussions that we've been having with the school district in regards to Custer Elementary. I know I shared in my email when the packet was sent out, but they're moving forward, the school district, with Custer as far as who goes in the next steps. There's a few options that I think the school district will decide on what needs to go forward, but there's been discussions about dedicating certain space for a park in that area. And those that grew up here in the 80s and the early 90s, that's where that basketball court at Custer, there used to be a citywide pool, and it's been converted to a basketball court, and we potentially would be looking at dedicating the green space. How much is still to be determined and worked out. We still got to look at parking access or a parking lot easement as far as that we have a cross access to get kids there. But if you remember, that's back in that 10-12 range too, that we used to have a Little Haven Park in that area that we sold the park to adjacent landowner. And so there really is no neighborhood park in that area anymore. We always use the Custer Elementary as kind of the neighborhood park. And so I don't know how fast this is going to move on the school district side, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention as at some point it will come before the board for approval to accept the land donation in exchange for a park. Now, what's our expectation from the parks to put in a playground and other amenities? We don't know, but just something to think about as we move forward.
Okay. Attorney Ruff, Commissioner Mutter.
I just want to bring up, I don't know if anybody been paying attention, but the volleyball, youth volleyball has been growing again another 10% with 34 teams this year, which is awesome. And I also want to thank the staff for making sure that the MAC program is fully staffed again. So I know how hard it is to find workers and stuff like that. So thanks, guys, for that.
Commissioner Freilich,
I've got nothing.
Commissioner Milhoff.
This might be news to Commissioner Scott, but the golf courses are open.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a roller coaster ride, Miles, but we've been open and then closed and then reopened, and who knows, later this week we might be closed again for a couple more days. But the beauty of what Commissioner Mutter said was that staffing-wise, we came through without losing anybody as far as the maintenance staff at Prairie West and Mandan Muni. So that's a big deal when you're not having to look for staff during the off season because everybody's coming back. The other thing is that there's a lot of familiar faces in the pro shop too. So really happy with the way the course looks. I played on Sunday with a gentleman that's a member at Oxbow, and he said this place is starting to look more like a private club than a public golf course, which is a compliment, in my opinion, with all the updates that we did within the budget last year. So,
Commissioner Milhoff, were you done with your report?
Yeah.
Okay. Was that your report,
He was
Commissioner
done.
Scott? Okay.
He was done.
All right, future meeting dates for Park Board Commissioners, April 16th, Park Operations Portfolio at the Park Operations Building at 7:30 a.m. April 21st, Facilities Portfolio, 8 a.m. at Starring Sports Complex. April 24th, Community Engagement Portfolio, 9 a.m. at the Park Administrative Building. And then our next regular board meeting will be here May 11th at 5:30. I will be absent for that one. So hopefully we get a quorum. Hopefully everybody can be here.
And then I forgot
Before
to
I
add one.
adjourn, Cole?
Yeah, I forgot to add one more date. So we do have our spring DCP advisory, Dakota Centennial Park. I didn't put that on the agenda, but that is on the 16th at noon. We do that every spring with all the groups, just pull them in. So Dakota Centennial Park Advisory Board meetings April 16th.
April 16th, okay. All right, with that, can we get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Melhoff,
Second.
second by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Meeting adjourned.